Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. There are sounds you never forget. Some are beautiful. A child's first cry, a lover whispering your name. And then there are sounds that bury themselves inside your chest like broken glass. For me, it was Emily's laugh that night. It didn't just humiliate me. It branded me. The ballroom of the Hyatt was alive with music, chatter, and the clinking of champagne glasses. The annual marketing gala always felt more like a circus than a corporate celebration. Strings of golden lights swung across the ceiling, sequins sparkled on dresses, and the air buzzed with the drunken confidence of people who thought they were important. Emily loved these nights. She loved the cameras, the attention, the way her colleagues looked at her. And tonight, she was radiant, long auburn hair cascading over a silver dress that shimmered with every step. I had once been proud to walk into a room with her on my arm. But tonight, that pride turned into something else, something that burned low in my chest as I watched her lean against another man. "Now this," she said, her voice carrying over the music, "this is what a real man looks like." She was smiling at Jason, her so-called work husband. He was younger than me by 6 years, sharp suit, sharp smile, the kind of man who thrived on attention. He chuckled awkwardly at her comment, but his hand was planted exactly where it shouldn't have been, on her waist, fingers pressing against the silver fabric like it belonged to him. The table went quiet. Some co-workers tried to laugh it off. Others shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting between us. Her friend Hannah bit down on a smirk, pretending to sip her drink as she waited for my reaction. I didn't give her one. My name is Daniel Harper, and I learned long ago that fury is predictable. Men who explode make mistakes. Men who stay silent can move mountains. I raised my glass of bourbon, let the amber liquid coat my tongue, and forced a faint smile, one that didn't reach my eyes. My silence unnerved her more than shouting ever could. But Emily didn't back down. The DJ's voice boomed as a new song began, and Jason tugged her toward the dance floor. She twirled under his arm, sequins flashing, her laugh echoing through the room like nails across glass. I caught sight of coworkers recording clips on their phones. She thought she was untouchable, adored, the star of the night. What she didn't know was that her downfall had already begun weeks ago. For months, I'd noticed the patterns. The late nights at the office that perfectly matched Jason's schedule. The hushed tones on phone calls when I entered the room. The perfume that lingered long after she claimed she was just with the team. I didn't accuse. I didn't confront. Instead, I observed. I gathered. I waited. Because I knew the day would come when she wouldn't just betray me in silence. She'd do it out loud. And when that day came, I'd be ready. Tonight, she gave me exactly what I was waiting for. As she strutted back to the table, cheeks flushed from dancing, she tossed her hair back and smirked at me. "Lighten up, Danny. It's just harmless fun." I clinked my glass gently against hers, holding her gaze just a moment too long. Her smirk faltered just slightly. The ride home was drenched in silence. She sat with her heels kicked off, bare feet on the dashboard, humming to herself as if she had just scored the greatest social victory of her life. I kept my hands steady on the wheel, my expression unreadable. "You're being too serious," she laughed, staring out the window. Everyone was drinking. It was office humor. "Don't act like it means anything." "Sure," I said softly, eyes on the road. She misread my tone completely. She thought I was conceding, that my quietness meant I was beaten, humiliated, willing to let it go. She didn't know that 2 hours earlier, as she was busy curling her hair for the gala, I had typed and saved a message on my phone. One that simply said, name, time. And just before I lifted my glass to hers at the table, I hit send. Across the city, a phone buzzed in the hands of a man whose job title included words like compliance and ethics. A man with the power to unravel her career faster than she could ever imagine. I didn't look angry because I wasn't. I was calm, focused, already 3 moves ahead. She thought the gala was the game. She thought mocking me in front of her colleagues was the punchline. But the truth? That was just her first step onto a board she didn't know she was playing. When we pulled into the driveway, she leaned over and kissed me on the cheek like nothing had happened. "You're too quiet," she teased, grabbing her purse. "Don't sulk, Danny. It was a fun night. I smiled faintly, but inside I was already days ahead. I wasn't thinking about tonight. I was thinking about the meeting she didn't yet know was coming, the photos that were already circling inboxes she couldn't access, and the avalanche that was about to come crashing down on her. As she hummed her way into the house, still riding the high of her victory, I stayed behind in the car, watching the garage door close. My hand brushed against the folder tucked into the glove box. A folder labeled with her name, filled with weeks of quietly collected evidence. Text logs she carelessly left on the home printer, receipts from dinners she thought I didn't notice, screenshots from coworkers who had sent them to me anonymously. Emily thought I was weak. She was about to learn just how dangerous a quiet man can be. Saturday mornings usually meant pancakes and a lazy hour scrolling through the news. But that morning felt different. I was calm on the outside, pouring coffee, but inside, every move I made was part of a pattern she hadn't yet noticed. Upstairs, Emily was still in bed, scrolling through photos of herself and Jason on the dance floor. The comments were rolling in fast, her friends gushing, coworkers laughing, emojis flying across the screen. She chuckled like she'd won something. Meanwhile, I sat at the kitchen counter with my laptop open, attaching those same photos to a new email. My words were simple. Subject: professional conduct. Body: thought you'd want to be aware. Public setting: multiple employees present. No anger, no accusations, just links, screenshots, timestamps. I clicked send. That one small sound was the beginning of everything. A little while later, Emily wandered into the kitchen wearing my hoodie, hair messy, eyes bright with pride. She stole a piece of toast from my plate. "You see Hannah's video?" she asked. "Jason dipped me. The comments are hilarious." I stir my coffee slowly. "Yeah, I saw." She watched me carefully, waiting for a fight, but I gave her nothing. That unsettled her more than shouting ever could. When she turned away, I pulled my phone from my pocket. A short reply had come through already. Received. Reviewing. The avalanche was moving. That afternoon, we went to the farmer's market. She held my arm, buying fruit and smiling at neighbors like we were still the perfect couple. She even kissed my cheek when someone waved. But I saw the way she stepped aside to answer a call, speaking softly, saying Jason's name too quickly. At home, she cooked pasta and poured wine like nothing was wrong. "We should do nights like that more often," she said, meaning the gala. "It was fun." "Yeah," I said quietly, "fun." She smiled, satisfied, and raised her glass. I did the same, but my thoughts were far from the table. While she was busy replaying last night's laugh in her head, I was already days ahead, shutting down accounts, changing passwords, and waiting for the storm I knew was coming. Emily believed she was untouchable. What she didn't know was that I'd already stripped away every escape she thought she had. And by Monday morning, she would realize her empire wasn't as secure as she imagined. Monday mornings always carried a certain weight. Stale coffee, traffic, people dragging themselves into offices with yesterday's perfume still clinging to their clothes. But for Emily, this one would be different. I was halfway through my first cup of coffee when my phone buzzed. It was Marcus, an old colleague who knew how to talk in careful half-sentences. "She's been warned before," he said, voice low. Nothing fireable at the time, but enough to be on record. And now, well, those photos are everywhere. I didn't answer right away. I didn't need to. He kept talking. Office chat lit up first thing. Memes, screenshots, even a gif of her little real man line. And here's the kicker. Jason reports directly to her. Straight chain of command. That's a compliance nightmare. I let out a slow breath. Appreciate the call. By noon, the whispers had left her department and started spreading through the building. Emily probably thought she could laugh it off, call it office humor. But gossip doesn't stay small when it's stamped with a timestamp and a company lawyer attached. That evening, she came home late. The door slammed harder than usual. Her heels clicked sharp against the tile. She poured herself wine before even saying hello. "Weird day," she muttered, voice too casual. "People won't shut up about Friday. Some folks really need hobbies." She laughed quickly, but it rang hollow. I just hummed, not looking up from my phone. Silence works better than interrogation. It leaves them scrambling to fill the space. Then it happened, the sound I've been waiting for. Ping. Her phone lit up across the counter. She glanced at the screen, froze for half a second, then flipped it face down like nothing happened. But I'd already seen the subject line. Meeting request, professional conduct, tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. From HR. CC, department head. Her hand trembled faintly as she picked up her glass again. She didn't ask me about it. She didn't even mention it. But the way she drained her wine said enough. Emily still believed this was a storm she could talk her way out of, the way she always had. Smiles, charm, spinning words until truth bent in her favor. But she had no idea how much of this was already out of her control. She thought tomorrow's meeting was just a formality. I knew better. Storms don't negotiate. They arrive. The next morning, Emily came downstairs dressed like she was about to deliver a keynote speech rather than walk into HR. Her blazer was pressed sharp, heels clicking against the hardwood floor, hair smoothed into perfection. She painted her face with confidence, layer by layer, until she thought the mirror showed a woman in control. Big meeting. I asked casually, sipping my coffee at the kitchen table. Just a quick check-in, she replied, voice too bright. Probably something about onboarding. You know how HR gets. She laughed lightly, but it didn't land. Her eyes darted once toward her phone, then to me, checking if I knew. I didn't move. I let her walk out with her mask still intact. But she wasn't ready for what waited. When she arrived at the office, she expected a small chat, maybe one compliance officer with a clipboard. Instead, she found a glass-walled conference room already occupied. Inside sat 3 people, HR, her department head, and a company lawyer with a face carved in stone. On the table, a stack of papers sat neatly aligned, each page face down, but positioned like evidence prepared for court. Her heels hesitated on the threshold. For once, she didn't stride. She faltered. Have a seat, her department head said. She forced a smile, slipped into the chair, and tried to cross her legs the way she always did when she wanted to look unshaken. The lawyer flipped over the first sheet. A high-resolution photo of the gala appeared, time-stamped, her arm wrapped around Jason's waist. Beneath it, in bold type, the caption, "Now this is what a real man looks like." Emily's throat worked as she tried to swallow. That was... Another page turned. A screenshot from the office group chat, her laughing about breaking in the new intern, and joking about HR, crying over Friday night. Her own words, stripped of humor, weaponized against her. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. The HR officer leaned forward. "We are conducting a formal review. Effective immediately, you are suspended until further notice." Emily blinked, stunned. Suspended? For what? A joke? This is ridiculous. The lawyer slid another sheet forward. Private messages pulled from the company's server. Even ones she thought were safe because they were sent from her personal phone while connected to corporate Wi-Fi. Each came with metadata: sender, recipient, device, location. No context could soften them now. Her hands trembled as she flipped her hair back, trying to recover her usual posture. "You can't. You'll surrender your laptop, phone, and badge before leaving today," HR interrupted flatly. "Building access revoked effective immediately." The words landed like heavy stones. For years, Emily's job had been her identity, her sanctuary, her weapon in arguments when she wanted to prove she was more than a wife. Now it was being stripped away piece by piece. Her department head slid a suspension form across the table. "Sign." Emily stared at it. The pen felt heavier than it should when she picked it up. She scribbled her name, each letter shaky, and pushed it back. The lawyer and HR stood before she did. They left her there, still seated, staring down at the page with her own signature, a record of her collapse. When she stepped outside the building, her phone was already deactivated. No were contacts. No access to the company chat. Her laptop locked, her badge useless. She looked like someone who had just been exiled from her own world. That's when she called me. I was at my desk, sipping coffee, pretending to review a budget spreadsheet. Her name lit up my phone. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but curiosity won. "Danny." Her voice was thin, frantic, stripped of the arrogance she carried at the gala. They suspended me. Took my badge, my laptop, everything. "Do you know anything about this?" "Did you?" "Speak to my attorney." I cut her off, tone calm, professional, final. Silence stretched. Not the indignant silence I was used to when she didn't get her way, but the kind that comes when someone realizes the ground beneath them isn't steady. Are you serious? She whispered. I don't joke about legal matters, I said. Her breath caught, sharp and panicked. Then a brittle laugh slipped out. Unbelievable. But there was no heat behind it, only fear. I ended the call without saying goodbye. The hours that followed were quieter than I expected. She left voicemails, first angry, then casual, then broken. The third one was barely more than a whisper. We need to talk. But I didn't reply. That evening, she came home looking like a storm had followed her. No blazer, no mask of confidence, just a woman stripped raw. She tried to start dinner like everything was normal, chopping vegetables with shaky hands. But the silence between us was louder than knives on the cutting board. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. Danny, you can't do this to me. This is my career, my life. I leaned against the counter, arms folded. You already did this. All I did was make sure the right people saw. Her eyes welled with tears, but there was no sympathy left in me. For months, she'd treated me like I was invisible. Last Friday, she laughed at me in front of everyone. Now she was the one being laughed at, and this time, there would be no one to clap for her. Emily thought she could still recover, that her charm and excuses would save her. But she didn't know how far the storm had spread. By the next morning, her story wouldn't just belong to her coworkers. It would belong to the entire company, to every email chain labeled urgent, to every executive suddenly worried about liability. And while she still clung to denial, I was already moving forward, securing the house, the accounts, the life she thought she controlled. The reckoning had only begun. Wednesday morning came quietly, too quietly. Emily had barely spoken to me since HR stripped her of her badge and laptop. She floated around the house in sweats, pacing from couch to window, waiting for a call that would never come. When it finally did, it wasn't a call, it was an email. I was pouring my second cup of coffee when I heard the sharp intake of breath from the living room. Her shoulders stiffened as she stared at her personal laptop. From where I stood, I could read the sender's name in bold, CEO. The subject line was brutal in its simplicity, regarding your position. She clicked, and I could see her hands tremble on the keyboard. The email was only one line long. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. No explanations. No farewell message. Just the door slamming shut. She slammed the laptop closed, pressing her fists against her knees. A jagged sound broke from her throat, half sob, half scream, as if she couldn't decide whether to spit out her anger or choke on it. I didn't rush to comfort her. Instead, I stepped onto the back porch with my coffee, breathing in the crisp morning air. For the first time in months, my chest felt light. Not like victory, but like relief. The burden I'd been carrying in silence had finally been set down. Behind me, through the glass, I could see her sitting motionless, head bowed, the reality crashing over her. There would be calls she'd have to make, doors that would no longer open, friends who wouldn't pick up. Her empire was gone, not with a fight, but with a single, quiet sentence. And all I'd had to do was let the truth speak for itself.